Alright, three, two, one. Alright, guys, so it has been a while since I've done anything involving YouTube since the Aquaman reaction, and I decided I'm not going to even bother to come back to that again. I thought about it, I moved on from that. But one thing I do like doing now is talking. And what my channel and what this channel is basically going to turn into now, it's going to be these. It's basically going to be audio visual type things. Me talking about topics, giving my opinion, and so forth. And one thing I'm kind of interested in what's going on with this movie is Bumble Bee, the newest Transformer film from Paramount. And the first Transformer film that's not from Michael Bay. Our first non-Bayformer film. And also kind of want to talk about why I think this film is underperforming, at least to maybe what the studio was at least hoping for compared to even what the last one got. So, but to do that, so with this film and to do that, I'm going to give you a visual aid at it because I like doing things visual while I'm talking. This is going to be very amateur too. We're going to go back to the very first Transformers with this. We're going to start at the beginning, and this is going to be a long video. Just a heads up. This is going to be strictly audio, and it's probably going to be a long video. So, to start this whole thing out, we have to go to the first Transformer film back in 2007, and just kind of think what helped propel this franchise into what it did become at that time. And the one thing that I truly believe that really helped Transformers at the time, because when that film had coming out, I personally, and I think a lot of people had very reservations at the time, had reservations because it was Michael Bay, and I think it was Michael Bay coming off of Armageddon. I'm not sure, maybe it was The Island, which was a flop, but I didn't have a lot of faith. But long and behold, the film comes out and turns out to be one of the most entertaining Michael Bay films he's done since Bad Boys, personally, in The Rock. But with that, little did we know the downfall would be coming after that. So, Transformers comes out 2007 and shocks the world, makes $709 million, opens up to $70 million, which is pretty good. And I'm pretty sure this film opened in the middle of the week, which is impressive. I mean, look at those numbers. Those aren't anything to laugh about, especially, remember, this is 2007. This isn't the era we're living in now. It's not in inflation. I'm not even sure how much ticket prices were back then. I probably would have to look something like that up. But they weren't what they are now. But anyway, this film comes out, massive hit. But the real thing, you look at this as a hit, but what helped this being a hit? Of course, it was Transformers. We like Transformers. There've never been a Transformer film. But what else did it? Well, one of the big things I noticed in going through, pulling up my trusty yearly calendar here, is if we jump back to 2007. What came out in 2007? Look at this list. Better yet, look at this list. What do you see about this list? You see the end of franchises. One thing, I see Spider-Man 3, which was a financial success, but not critical, but I'd say with the fans, massive disappointment. Shrek the Third. Some people say that's the worst, that was the downfall right there of the Shrek franchise. Started the downfall, because Pirates of the Caribbean won't end. I loved it. Not a lot, some other people did it. But that was probably the last Pirates of the Caribbean film that, I would say before their downfall. Harry Potter or the Phoenix, that was coming, they only had 2 more films to go after that, or 3 more films. Born Ultimatum, the last Bourne film. National Treasure, Book of Secrets, Secret to that. You want to know what's interesting about this list? What do you don't see on this list? You don't see Marvel. But better yet, you do see Marvel, but you don't see the MCU. You don't see Disney animated films. You don't see any of the stuff we got now. This film literally came out at the perfect time. I mean, I'm that's not even an understatement. This film came out literally at the perfect time. Look at the year before. What do you see on that list? X-Men Last Stand. Another superhero film we hate, that fans despised. Fucking Superman Returns. I'm the biggest diehard Superman fan you can find out there. I love that character. I love Superman. I fucking hate that film. I truly hated Superman Returns. That started me hating Bryan Singer from that point. We're not going to go into other stuff with Bryan Singer, but that started me disliking Bryan Singer. So really, was the comic book franchises were going down the hill at that time. They were crashing and burning. And along comes Transformers and Paramount and Michael Bay and delivers something that's fun, entertaining. It comes out at a time where there's nothing else in the landscape to even combat against it. So long and behold, the film becomes a hit. $390 million internationally, $319 million in the US. As you see, $709 million altogether. Financial big bucks for Paramount. Naturally, you get a sequel. Now, I was excited for that sequel. I saw the trailers for it. I thought it would be good. Little did I know that everything about past Michael Bay sequels or past Michael Bay films I didn't like would start to manifest itself stronger in this film. Because I truly believe with the first Transformers, that wasn't supposed to be the big hit that it was. I don't think Paramount or even Michael Bay thought it was going to. And I believe that because it became such a breakout hit, that for the sequel and for the foreseeable future, Paramount basically just told Michael Bay, do what you want. You got a free check. You created control. This is all yours. This is your brainchild. You have fun with it. When you tell a guy like Michael Bay, I believe when you tell a guy like Michael Bay, a guy who I think seriously has an ego the size of like the constellation. And if you don't believe me, just listen to the commentary on the Transformers film. I mean, the guy literally is in love with himself. He talks about in the commentary about how his all the fighters and Transformers are real and not CGI because he's got the Pentagon on speed dial and none of these other studios can hack it. I mean, what the hell, man? But hey, he's in love with himself or whatever. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen comes out. Smashes into the box office, 108 million, 836, makes more than the first one, over 100 million more. Once again, a massive financial success. Now, granted, I didn't like the film. I know other people didn't like the film. Some of my friends liked the film. The biggest reason I didn't like the film, compared to the first one, even though the film had the same, the first one, when you go back and watch it, it does have similar flaws, is that the flaws don't manifest themselves the way that they do in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Is that Bay is Bay in the first one, but in Revenge of the Fallen, Bay starts being Michael Bay. He starts basically doing what he normally does, the type of shit that you saw in Armageddon, the drawn out, ridiculous, comedic bullshit that doesn't fit, the random characters that are fucking annoying and don't contribute anything to the movie except basically making your ears bleed. Michael Bay and his ridiculous racial stereotypes. I don't understand those whole bits with Michael Bay, but anyway. I would have to say about 10 minutes into that film, I knew what I was in for from that point on. After the whole sequence with the parents in the college thing, how that was drawn out and was completely unfunny, the whole thing with the weed, the pot-smoking mom, I mean, at that point, I knew this isn't going to get better, really. This is just going to get worse, and I'm going to get more of this bullshit down the road. And I did. We got Robot Heaven. We got Devastator with fucking balls. We got John Turturro basically flashing his ass on the camera. And let me tell you something. I saw this film in IMAX. Yeah, IMAX back at the time. So let me tell you something. Seeing John Turturro's ass on the screen, hairy ass on the screen, wasn't the greatest thing for me at the time. It's not, so put it this way, it's not something I actually wanted to see. And I don't think most people in the audience wanted to see that. And it just came out of nowhere. But that's Michael Bay. And you give a guy like that creative control, that's what you get. Either way, the film is a success. So of course, you keep the guy on. You can't fire this guy. You keep this guy. You'd be crazy if you did fire him. You should be fired yourself. Doesn't matter if people don't like it. This man's bringing in money. You keep the guy. Jump forward a few years. Actually, just jump back. 2009. Huh. But let's jump back to that 2009 thing. What else came out in 2009? Or better yet, what didn't come out in 2009? So look at that. 2009, Avatar. Granted, we haven't had another Avatar because James Cameron takes forever. But look at that. Harry Potter, Half-Blood Prince. Harry Potter's ending. But check out this list. What do you see on this list? You see Twilight, you see Harry Potter, you see The Hangover, you see Star Wars, you mean Star Trek. But what you don't see still? The MCU. Still don't see the MCU yet. It's not there. Because the MCU hasn't started yet. But it was coming. Actually, my bad. The MCU had started, but it was only one movie. So it really hadn't started, but it was coming. And while this film was a success, the year before, the MCU had started. And it's shown people that comic books can be more than what we thought they were. Can be taken serious. Can have real undertowing issues. Can have complex characters that you can relate to, characters with real problems. Dark Knight and Iron Man both showed that. I didn't like Iron Man. I wasn't a fan of it, but I'm not going to lie. In terms of writing, it was written very well. It's just I didn't think the execution overall was done that great. But when you think about it, there's still no competition for Transformers. This time there really wasn't. Even Pixar, look at this. Jump back to Pixar. Look Pixar right here. Look at that. WALL-E. That's it. Even Pixar, the Disney animated stuff hadn't started yet. So basically Transformers still was ruling. Jump forward, 2011, Dark of the Moon. The Transformer film that made me stop seeing this franchise and completely changed my outlook on going to the movies and paying to see things. Actually, not just the movies, completely changed my outlook on just everything. In terms of the way I buy things, the way I spend money towards certain companies. So this film comes out, 96.7 million. I fucking hated it. Just to put it that way. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I hated this film. Film made me physically angry. Nearly walked out of the film. But I didn't. Mainly because I've only walked out of a film once. And in my mindset, when I pay for a film, you gotta really, really piss me off to make me walk out of that theater knowing that I paid for something that I'm not going to get the finish. And that I'm not really getting my money's worth. So I stayed. And by the end of that film, I vowed I am done with this franchise. I am completely done until Michael Bay is gone. Until these writers are gone. And just until this creative team is gone. Because I realized at this point, this franchise is going to change. It's just the same shit over and over again. And it's going to be that until Michael Bay goes. Because this is a formula that works. Not to mention, look at this. Film made $1 billion, people. $1 billion. Now, you can think that making $1 billion isn't much because you look at the films that, if you look basically every year, a film makes 3-4 films nowadays make $1 billion. But in 2011, that wasn't the case. Because once again, we jump back to 2011. And the only film that also made $1 billion that year was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Made that worldwide, but that was the last Harry Potter film. So $1 billion for a Transformer film, for any film at that time, was impressive. Beyond impressive. Especially for a film that gradually people didn't like that much. Some people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. But it still made the money, $352,771,000. I'm not going to say people didn't go see it because they did. So obviously people liked it. Kids liked it enough to go see it. So once again, success, $195 million budget. Bank for Paramount. But I personally believe this is the point where Paramount should have looked and thought to himself, They should have looked around the landscape and thought, there's other stuff out here. Maybe we should switch the formula up. I'm not saying get rid of the director, but maybe bring on a new writer. Somebody to bring at least some flair to this and not literally make it look like the same thing. But no. You keep Michael Bay, you keep the same creative team. I'm not even sure if you kept the same writer. But it obviously didn't matter. So the film's success, $1 billion hit. Jump forward, 2014. Age of Extinction. Now let me be clear on this one. I have not seen this film. I've seen snippets of it. After Transformers 3, I refused to watch any more of these films. And I didn't. Have not seen the last 2 Transformers films. I won't watch them. I feel no reason to watch them. I know what I'm going to get, and I'm not interested. Simple as that. But either way, film came out. $1 billion hit again. $1 fucking dollar hit. So obviously something was working. Film, now granted, most of that money, a lot of that money did came from China, but still, I can't even say most of that money came from China. Because the film made a fucking $1 billion. Made $858 million. Even if the film did make $300 or $400 million in China, still made $858 million internationally. That's nothing to sneeze about. It isn't. It really isn't. I mean, even if you hated it, there's nothing to sneeze about. As a company and as a business, if you're an executive, shareholders, that's you can't look at that and say, oh, but the fans don't like it, we got to stop. Fuck that. No, we're making billions. We keep going. Even with that $210 million budget, it still was a massive success. No Shia LaBeouf, no Megan Fox. Doesn't matter. Got Mark Wahlberg. You got Michael Bay. It's all good. Now remember, this is 2014. Now, by this point, 2014, the MCU still wasn't in... I'm not going to say that. It was hitting its stride. It was complete. It was starting to hit its main stride to basically where it would be right now. But if you look at this box office, things are picking up here. You notice this end of the year box office. Transformers here. Oh, sorry, here. But you look at it, what's here? Captain America Winter Soldier. Ooh. Guardians of the Galaxy. The MCU is coming into place. See that number 8 film? That's Maleficent. That's where Disney started the live-action animated remakes. Competition was coming. The movie landscape was changing. And unfortunately, Paramount wasn't prepared to change with it. They saw their money and they're like, we're going to keep going for it. So, lo and behold, we get Transformers last night. Which is the appropriate title because it was the last one. At least of the Michael Bay era. Now, 2 big things between this. You look at the release windows between these films. For the most part, they were 2-year windows. 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 14, 3 years there. But then you look from 14 to 17. Now, that's another 3-year gap. So, last night comes out. Paramount's got Michael Bay. They ain't got nothing to worry about. $1 billion coming. Maybe not. Film opens up, crashes and burns. In terms of Transformers, it crashed and burned. 44 million. People have had enough. They didn't give a shit. Well, you still had them. You had this Michael Bay toadies. You had little kids and stuff, and you had people maybe with hope. It wouldn't be bad. People maybe have to review it to see it, but the general audience and the fans said, fuck you, we're done. People like me, we're out. We don't want it, don't care. And the film underperformed. Not only that, the film underperformed overseas. Big time. Now, if I jump back to the other one, remember I said the other one, the one before this made $858 million. This one made $475 million. That is a massive gap. That's a nearly $500 million gap between the last and the second one. So obviously the international box office didn't give a shit anymore either. The world didn't care. The world was burned out of Transformers. Or were they? Was the world burned out of Transformers? Or what, did the world move on? Between this gap, let's take a look at something. 2015, Star Wars came to play. Avengers Age of Ultron there. While that wasn't a good Avenger film, I'll say this. from after that Avengers film, Marvel went full blast. They took over from that point. And this comes from a DC fan. I didn't like Age of Ultron, but I'm not gonna lie. Marvel learned their mistake in that after that film. And they went full blast from that point on and started to dominate. It wasn't competition then. But by 2017, oh boy. Now let's take a look at this list. When it actually released. What's on? Look at this list. Star Wars. Beauty and the Beast. Live action Disney animated remakes. Wonder Woman. Guardians again. Spider-Man now under the MCU. Thor Ragnarok. The failed Justice League. Sucks, but it did fail. Logan. Times were changed. People had other things to see. That audience that they went for, kids. Kids no longer, maybe people like me who grew up with Transformers still loved Transformers and cared. But that little kid growing up nowadays, little Billy growing up, yeah, that kid ain't growing up with Transformers. He's growing up with Captain America, Iron Man, Superman, Batman. He's growing up with that. He's growing up with superheroes all over his walls. He doesn't care about Transformers as much. And thus, I think that started the downfall. So the film underperformed. So what does Paramount do? Hey, reboot. Not really reboot, but retooling. Now, what's interesting is this was supposed to happen after Transformers 4. Bay, after the third Transformers, said he was leaving. And then after the fourth Transformers, he really said he was leaving. He said, that was it. I'm done. I'd like to move on. And at the last second, he came back and Paramount brought him back. And you essentially did the same thing all over again with your franchise. And it's bit you in the foot. Or should I say bitch in the ass, really? Came up and bit you right in the ass. When you look at these numbers for Transformers, you could see the decline. And Paramount ignored it. Transformers Age of Extinction may have made $1 billion, but Paramount should have saw the writing on the wall with that domestic number. That the audiences were getting tired of watching this. It's because it's the same shit. Bay can't change. He doesn't. A guy who's been directing that type of style for the years he has, you can't expect a guy like that to change. You just can't. Now, I know that some people will say, man, well, maybe they did do that, but they did give us what we wanted with Bumble Bee. So, I mean, shouldn't we accept that? They gave the fans what they wanted. We wanted this, and they said, hey, what have we done for the fans? Let's give them what we want. They want. Let's give them the Transformers film they always wanted to see. Something similar to the G1 cartoon that they all grew up with. Well, into that sense, actually, I grew up with. The kids nowadays did not grow up with that. The kids, like I said, are growing up with Marvel. They're growing up with Marvel, Disney, animated stuff like that, Star Wars. Transformers is a thing in the past to them. But nevertheless, they reboot, and we get Bumblebee. Now, I haven't seen this film, and I'm not going to go see this film. I refuse to see it. And now you could say that's kind of arrogant of you. You just said you're a huge Transformers fan. You love Transformers. Yet you don't want to support possibly the best Transformer film made since the animated film? No, I don't. Because Paramount's intentions wasn't to give us a Transformer film we all loved. Paramount's intentions was to shoehorn us with nostalgia of something we did love to help them shoehorn in their new Transformers universe. Oh yes, because that's what Paramount planned on doing with this. Branching this off into a Transformers universe. Because everybody's got to have their own shared universe nowadays. If Marvel and DC are doing it, everybody else has got to find a way to do it. It just is what it is. Because it's the only money. And to me, those intentions aren't noble. Those intentions are based on a company that had nothing else to do with this franchise except this. And figured, hey, maybe if we give the fans now what they want, they'll come back. We can get them all to come back. They didn't see the last one, but they'll come back for this. Will we? I don't know. Now, Bumblebee had this. Now, here's the thing. Bumblebee actually had this release date way ahead. I think about 2 years. I think a year or so ahead. And I think at the time when they took this release date, Mary Poppins, don't quote me on that. I'd have to look that up. But Mary Poppins, I think, was the only film. And then out of nowhere, Warner Brothers ended up taking their Aquaman release date and jumping it all the way to December after Solo vacated. Which essentially clashed it right with Bumblebee. Now, I said at the time when Aquaman moved, granted, I didn't even know if Aquaman would be a success. Mainly because I didn't know if people would care enough about the character. I mean, hell, I didn't even care about the character enough to go see it. But one thing I did believe is that Paramount should move that Bumblebee release date. I truly believe that was a bad release date for them. One, it's not a Christmas-esque type of thing. Two, you're going up against things that in today's world are a lot more popular than your Transformers. Comic books are the mainstream. Comic books are what bring in money for studios. They're dominating the box office every year, and it's not going to change. These are billion-dollar movies every year. These films they seem to almost be like failure-proof at this point. Outside of Justice League, I mean, you can even say what you want about BVS, which I liked. It still made almost $900 million. It made over $800 million. Now, you could say it didn't make $1 billion because a Batman and Superman film should have made $1 billion, but it still made that much. You know how many studios at this moment? Let me tell you something. Paramount will be clamoring. And all of you people may not like that movie, but Paramount would be jumping for joy if they could get the money that BVS made. They would be jumping for joy right now if this film could reach the $800 million. Wouldn't even matter if it wasn't liked. They'd be ecstatic. But I don't believe that film's going to reach that. I do believe it's going to be successful, but in the long run, this is not going to make nearly what they want to try to justify trying to expand this into a universe. And this is their own fault. You can't burn people as much as they did with these films. This film's franchise started in 2017. This is like 12 years later. And you made 3 films in a row that weren't liked. I'll even give it to some people. I'll even give the third one a pass because there are people who seem to actually like it. But the fourth and fifth, for most people I've talked to, unanimously despise that film. From the people I know who've actually seen it, hate those films. And you threw out 2 shitty films back to back that were worse, way worse than the ones before. And I haven't seen them. But as I said, I'm going by what I've heard from people, and I've seen small clips of the fourth one. I saw the trailers, and it looked the same. So it wasn't shocking that people hated it. Not to mention, 2017, Bumblebee 2018, you released another Transformer film literally a year after you released the most hated Transformer film. The one that's basically stopped your franchise. And I don't believe that Transformer 7, I don't think that's going to happen. I do not believe that's going to happen. There may be another Transformer movie, but it ain't going to be called Transformer 7. And I think that Paramount's going to be looking into new directions to try to rebound on this. Because in all honesty, I have no interest on this. And I don't think most people do. And I think that's the scary part. And I've always said this. The worst thing that a company can do, or anything a business can do, is make people stop caring. I believe you can piss people off because companies have done it to me. I believe you can piss your consumers off, and they will come back. They will forgive you. But if you make them not care, I believe that's a lot harder to repair. To get somebody to start to, when somebody doesn't care about something, to make them, to try to like entice them to actually want to pay attention to your product or to this again. It's not an easy thing to do. I'll give you an example. Hey, I'm a huge gamer. I love video games. I used to play the Battlefield games. I haven't played the new ones. You want to know why? It has nothing to do with the new Battlefield. It has to do with the fact I haven't bought a game from EA in almost 7 years. Because I despise that company so much. Because I felt burned so much by them, I just said, fuck you. I'm done. I don't want it anymore. And that's what Transformers is to me now. I wanted this back in 2014. I wanted this after the third one. I wanted a film like this. But instead you gave me Bay again. And then you kept him again. And we moved on. And I moved on. The audiences moved on. The people who grew up with it moved on. Some of them, they're not willing to come back. And it's evidence with these box office numbers. I mean, it's early. Look at these. I mean, that number is only from December 30th, but come on. If you really think this film is going to climb to the heights that this film, put it this way. If this film makes as much as the last one, last night, which is, I think was like somewhat over 600 million. I have to look back at, let me just take a look at it. Yeah. If Bumble Bee makes 605 million, Paramount will go out be dancing in their underwear outside their offices, because that right there would be success, and that will probably be more. Will probably be more than they expect at this point, because I actually think that Paramount probably expected Bumble Bee to do similar to the last night originally, and now they're looking at it like, shit, we're in trouble. And like I said, this competition now, this variety, you're competing with Marvel, you're competing with DC, you're competing with Disney Animated. People look around the landscape of movies. Movies have changed big time now. It really has. These things are dominating the box office. I mean, come on, look at this landscape again this year. This is Paramount, you're trying to reboot a franchise a year removed from the worst film into a sea, or into an entertainment industry, or I would just say, like, I'm trying to think of the word, but I just can't. But you're basically trying to compete with something that has essentially grown and embedded itself into the industry. And that's what Marvel is. It's embedded itself there. It's embedded itself into the minds of moviegoers to the point where moviegoers pretty much think they have to see comic book movies. I feel that. Because all these films are making massive money. And unless you have the words DC or have the words Marvel or DC on it, nobody seems to even care about your comic book film. It doesn't seem like anybody cares about Joe Blow. Hellboy's going to be in a lot of trouble. I really do feel that. But with Bumble Bee, it's sad because, I'm not going to go see it. I don't want to pay for it. When it comes to video, I'll watch it. If I love it a lot, maybe I'll buy it on Amazon. But I'm not going to go see this in theaters. And it doesn't help that ticket prices are massively expensive now. Where I live, it's over $13 to see a fucking movie. And now just imagine if you got a family of 4. Let's just put it in your mindset. You're adult. Before we stop, we're done here. I'm going to leave you with this. Put this in your mindset. In the landscape we live in, 13 movies are $13 a year. You look at the type of movies that come out. Say you got a family. Say you got a family of boys. Say you got 2 boys and a girl. Those 2 boys love comic books. That girl maybe loves the Disney stuff. She loves the Disney princesses. She likes that stuff. So you look at the box office year. What are they going to want to go see? Well, of course, Black Panther, Infinity War, Deadpool, but they can't see that. You would think. Ant-Man. Maybe she wants to see Incredibles. You got Aladdin, Lion King coming. The landscape's changed. People moved on. Paramount is now dealing with a whole different entity when it comes to what audiences perceive and what audiences are willing to pay for. And when you burn people to the point that I think Paramount burned them with that Transformer franchise, this is what you have to deal with. You have to basically reestablish yourself. You have to prove to you have to not only prove to the fans of this, you've got to prove to the movie-going audiences, and that is the hardest thing to do. Trust me. Let me tell you something. Aquaman being a success, it is, DC's ecstatic because it actually seems like they may have done that. That they may be slowly proving themselves to the general audience that, hey, you know what? We're here too. We can compete with Marvel. We got some great characters. If you love comic books, give us a chance too. It seems like audiences are starting to... you can look at Justice League being a flop, but Wonder Woman and Aquaman, we'll see how Shazam's goes, but it does kind of seem like audiences are maybe starting to take on to that. And let me tell you, that right there doesn't bode good for the Bumble Bee there in the Transformer franchise. Because now that's another entity. Because if Warner Brothers does get to that point, now you got Marvel and DC. You have the spectrum when it comes to summer box office and even Christmas at this point is going to be so flooded for the next few years with comic books. There's no landscape for things like this. It doesn't. Other movies are having the same problem. I mean, it's not just Bumble Bee. There are other things that are having to deal with this exact same problem, trying to get people to come see theirs, trying to build. Universal had this issue with The Mummy. They fucked up. There's a lot of variety out there. I mean, you look at this year, there was a lot of variety, and there's a lot of variety for people to spend their money on. And unfortunately, Transformers just isn't it anymore. Now, do I hope that the next one that they can continue? Yeah. Even though I'm not going to go pay to see this film, I do believe it'll be successful, and I hope, at least financially, I hope that it does at least make enough so they can make a sequel. And maybe continue this momentum, and who knows? If they continue this momentum, maybe they'll draw the audiences back. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe I'll give the next one a chance. But not yet. Because I don't believe Paramount has earned me that trust. I don't believe they've earned my trust yet. And with that, I'm gonna end this video. So I hope you guys, and whether you didn't or did, I hope you did. But if you didn't, fuck it. I don't make these for people to. I'm not gonna be making these for people to praise me. That's one thing about me. I don't do things to try to get famous, to get popularity. I don't want popularity. I don't want any of that stuff. I wouldn't even know how to handle it or know what to do with it if I got it. I do these things for fun, and that's basically what these things are going to be. And as I said, with that, let's end this, and I guess I'll just see you guys in my next one. And I think with my next video, or not really videos anymore, audio, and I probably will be expanding on these into audio commentaries, which those will be pretty long. I'm going to have to do audio chop downs on those. But I think the next topic I'll be when I come back here again will be about the next Terminator film. And personally, why I think a lot of people are wrong who are saying the film's going to flop, and why I think the film is going to be a massive hit. And I think it's going to end up being the biggest Terminator film of all time. I really do. But we'll talk about that in the next video. So, and with that, I'll leave you guys on this. When it comes to movies or things like this, make your own decisions about it. And if you feel that a company or something hasn't earned your trust or doesn't deserve it, don't let anybody make you feel like, oh, you have to go do this because You're not a real fan unless you support this movie. You're not a Transformer fan unless you don't go see Bumblebee. Yeah, suck my dick. Give me a break. It's bullshit.